If you're listening to this at night, I have to ask you something. Are you sure that was a good idea? Right now, maybe you're curled up in bed or scrolling on your phone with the lights low, trying to relax before sleep. You probably feel safe. Four walls around you, a locked door, the faint hum of electronics filling the silence. Nothing unusual, nothing to fear. But you'd be wrong to feel safe, because the truth is, the stories I'm about to share aren't just stories. They've been pulled from real accounts, confessions, testimonials, warnings buried deep on Reddit threads where most people never dare to scroll. And those who have listened to all of them before you, let's just say not everyone makes it to the end. I'm not exaggerating. I've seen comments vanish, usernames deleted, entire threads erased without explanation. Some people listen halfway and quit, shaken by what they hear. Others, well, they never comment again. Whether that's because they got too scared or because something else silenced them, I can't tell you. All I know is this: most people don't finish all 7. Will you? That's the challenge. 7 stories, each darker than the last. Some of them sound like the kind of urban legends you laugh off with friends. Others hit too close to home, because they happen in bedrooms like yours, or on buses you've taken, or online chats you've had. By the time you reach the end, the line between fiction and reality may already be gone. And the 7th story, the cursed one, the one that Reddit itself tried to delete again and again as if erasing it could erase the truth, that's the one most listeners can't handle. The one that feels less like a story and more like something reaching through the screen, watching you as you watch it. You could stop now, close this, pretend you never pressed play. But you didn't come here for safety, did you? You came here for the thrill, for the rush of dread that only comes when you lean in too close to the dark. So if you're still here, I'll assume you're ready. Let me start with something that happened to a user just like you. Listen closely and decide if you want to listen next. Maybe you'll be different. Maybe you can make it to the end where most people don't.
I used to think my bedroom was the safest place in the world. My little sanctuary. A desk covered in half-empty soda cans, blankets pulled high around me, the soft glow of my laptop screen as I scrolled through Reddit late into the night. I'd always thought of that room as my fortress. 2nd floor, locked door, one window that overlooked the yard. Nothing could touch me there. But then came the tapping. It started faint, almost too soft to notice. A quick, delicate tick, 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 like someone lightly drumming their fingernails against glass. At first, I told myself it was a tree branch brushing against the window. It was winter, though. Bare branches, no wind outside. The sound was rhythmic, intentional. "Hey," I whispered across the room. My roommate Dylan was half asleep on his bed. "Do you hear that?" He groaned and rolled over. "It's nothing, man. Just go to sleep." But I couldn't. The tapping grew louder, more insistent. It wasn't random. It came in sets of 3. Pause, then 3 again. Like someone was knocking, but trying not to be heard. I pulled my blanket tighter. Just a branch, I told myself. It has to be a branch. Then the sound stopped. I let out a shaky breath and leaned back in my chair. Relief washed over me, but it didn't last. Not even a minute later, there it was again. Closer now. Louder. "Dylan!" I hissed. This time he sat up, rubbing his eyes. "What?" "Listen." We both sat in silence. And then, tick, 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 clear as day. He frowned. "That's the window?" "Yeah." We stared at each other, both of us waiting for the other to explain it away. Neither of us could. Finally, Dylan got up, muttering, "It's probably the tree. Chill." He shuffled over to the window, pulled back the curtain, and froze. "What?" I asked. My voice cracked. He didn't answer right away, just stood there, staring. Then, slowly, he let the curtain fall back into place and turned to me, pale as chalk. "Dude, we don't have a tree that high." I blinked at him. "What are you talking about?" "This is the second floor. There's nothing outside the window. No ledge, no roof, nothing." My stomach dropped. The realization hit us both at the same time. Whatever was making that noise wasn't supposed to be there. The tapping started again, louder, sharper, almost impatient. Dylan backed away from the window. He whispered, "Don't look. Just don't." Of course, I looked. I don't know what I expected. Maybe a bird, maybe some trick of the wind. But what I saw didn't make sense. Two pale hands pressed flat against the glass, fingers long and crooked, nails scraping softly as they tapped. They weren't holding to anything. They were just there, suspended in the darkness outside my window, as if someone was floating in midair, peering in. I couldn't see a face, just the faint reflection of something shifting beyond the glass. I stumbled backward, heart slamming in my chest. "What the hell is that?" Dylan shook his head violently. Don't say anything. Just turn off the light. Pretend we're asleep." The tapping grew frantic, faster, like whoever or whatever it was knew we were watching. My throat felt like it was closing up. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't get the sound out. So we killed the light, sat in total darkness, hearts racing, listening to those nails scrape and tap against the glass for what felt like forever. And then, silence. We didn't sleep that night. Didn't move until the first hint of sunrise slipped through the curtains. When I finally dared to pull them back, the window was empty. No marks, no hands, nothing. But here's the part that still haunts me. That morning, when I went outside to check, I realized something that makes no sense. The window is a good 12 feet above the ground. There's no balcony, no ledge, no tree close enough for anyone to climb. There's no way someone could have been standing there. And yet, they were. To this day, when I hear tapping at night, I never look outside. That was only the beginning. The next story isn't just creepy, it's dangerously true.
I have always been the kind of person who stays up too late on the internet. You know the kind. Doom scrolling, hopping between Reddit and Discord, wasting hours in chat rooms where nothing important ever happens. Most nights it's harmless, just background noise while I put off sleeping. But one night, I got a message that I'll never forget. It was on Reddit, a direct message from a user I didn't recognize. Their handle was something strange, just a string of random letters and numbers, almost like it had been generated automatically. At first, I thought it was spam, but the message was short, simple. "I can see you." I stared at it for a second, smirking. Classic troll. I typed back, "Yeah, sure, nice try." Almost immediately, they replied, "No, really, that red shirt looks good on you." I froze. I was wearing a red shirt, not just any red shirt, an old high school tee I hadn't worn in months. I glanced around my room, the way you do when you suddenly feel exposed, even though you're supposed to be alone. My blinds were closed, the window locked. There was no camera on my monitor. "How did you know that?" I typed, my fingers shaking. "Told you. I can see you." My rational brain kicked in. Okay, maybe they guessed. Maybe they scrolled through my old posts and saw a picture. Or maybe they were just lucky. So I tested them. "Okay then, what am I doing right now?" Their reply came instantly. "You're chewing your nails." And I was. I yanked my hand away from my mouth like I had been burned. Panic set in. I started typing, demanding answers. Who was this? How did they know? Were they hacking my webcam somehow? I scrambled to cover it with tape even though it had been disabled for years. The messages kept coming. "Don't bother. It's not the webcam. I don't need that. I'm already here." I wanted to call Dylan, my roommate, but it was past 2 a.m. and I knew he'd be pissed. Besides, what would I even say? Hey, someone online knows what shirt I'm wearing. He'd laugh and tell me to log off. Then the user sent another message. Tell Dylan I said hi. My blood ran cold. I sat there, staring at the screen, heart hammering, trying to convince myself it was a coincidence. Maybe they'd seen me mention his name somewhere online. Maybe they were digging through old threads, piecing things together. But then another message. No, coincidence. I am behind you. I didn't move. Couldn't move. My room felt like it had shrunk, the air thick and heavy. Slowly, I turned in my chair, half expecting to see someone standing in the corner, but there was nothing, just shadows. I snapped back to the screen, ready to close the chat, ready to report the account. But before I could, the username at the top of the conversation flickered, then vanished, deleted, gone. Except the messages didn't stop. Why'd you turn around? You didn't see me? Look harder. The account didn't exist anymore. Reddit marked it as deleted, but the typing bubbles still appeared, the words still spilling into my inbox. I slammed my laptop shut and sat in the dark, every nerve in my body screaming. I wanted to believe it was some kind of glitch, some elaborate hoax. But even with the screen closed, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was still watching me. I didn't sleep that night. When morning came, I convinced myself it was over. Just a freak event. But later that day, when I logged back on, a new message waited for me. Same thread. No username. You shouldn't ignore me. That was the last straw. I deleted the app, changed my passwords, tried to bury it in the back of my mind. But even now, sometimes I swear I catch the faint flicker of typing bubbles when no one's there. By the way, if anyone's messaging you right now while you're listening, maybe don't answer, because the next story proves that some things don't just whisper through the screen. They crawl closer. They crawl right into your walls. It started small, the kind of thing every homeowner shrugs off. Scratching in the walls at night. Tiny claws skittering just beyond reach, the sound of something moving in the vents. My parents thought it was rats. Old house, old problems. They called pest control, set traps, even stuffed steel wool into the corners of the basement. But the scratching didn't stop. If anything, it grew louder. At first, it came in short bursts, like something running from one side of the wall to the other. But after a week, the sounds started to change. They weren't random anymore. They had a rhythm. Tap, drag, tap, drag. Like footsteps, but too close, too enclosed. Then came the voices. The first time I heard it, I thought I was dreaming. A soft murmur drifting from the air vent near my bed. I pressed my ear to the grate, half asleep, and swore I heard someone whisper my name. When I told my parents the next morning, they laughed it off. "You've been watching too many scary movies," my mom said. But that night, the whispers came again, louder, clearer. And this time, I wasn't the only one. My little sister ran into my room, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Her face was pale. "He's talking again," she whispered. "Who?" I asked. "The man in the vent." I froze. "What do you mean, the man?" "He lives in there," she said matter-of-factly. "He told me not to tell you." I wanted to tell her she was imagining things, but the way her eyes darted toward the vent, the way she clung to that rabbit like her life depended on it, I couldn't shake the feeling she was telling the truth. That night, I stayed awake, staring at the vent. Around 2 a.m, I heard it again. Not scratching, not rats. A low chuckle, like someone trying not to laugh. I bolted upright, heart pounding. "Who's there?" I whispered. The vent went silent. For a long time, nothing happened. And then, in a voice so faint I almost thought I imagined it, came a whisper. "Closer."
I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next day, my dad finally agreed to call pest control again. He figured maybe raccoons had gotten in, or some larger animal. The guy showed up with tools, a flashlight, and that smug attitude people get when they think you're wasting their time. "Nothing in these vents but dust," he said, kneeling down to unscrew the grate in the living room. I remember standing a few feet behind him, arms crossed, trying to convince myself this was all in our heads. My sister hovered next to me, clutching my arm. The man leaned in with his flashlight, peering deep into the duct. He said, "See? Nothing?" He stopped. I'll never forget the look on his face. His confident smirk drained into confusion, then horror. "What the hell?" he muttered. Before I could ask, something moved inside the vent. Fast. The man dropped his flashlight. It clattered against the floor, beam spinning wildly. I swear I saw fingers. Long, grayish fingers curling around the metal from the inside. The pest control guy scrambled backward, knocking into the coffee table. He shouted, "Call the police!" But before anyone could move, the vent screeched open and something began to crawl out. It wasn't an animal. It wasn't human either. Its limbs bent the wrong way, joints cracking as it pulled itself into the room. Its face, or what I think was its face, was stretched too long with a mouth that smiled too wide. And the laughter. God, the laughter. It was the same sound I'd heard through the vent, that hushed, mocking chuckle. Only now, it was right there in front of us. My sister screamed. My dad grabbed us both and yanked us toward the door. The pest control man bolted past us, sprinting out of the house like his life depended on it. We didn't stop running until we were outside, standing barefoot in the lawn in the cold night air. From the upstairs windows, I swore I saw movement, shadows shifting, something watching. We never went back inside. My parents packed what they could the next day and moved us to a hotel until we found another house. They told everyone it was mold or bad wiring or something normal. But we knew better. It wasn't rats. Rats don't whisper your name. Rats don't laugh. That family moved out, but sometimes houses don't forget. Which brings me to the next story.
You've probably heard the rule before. Don't look into a mirror at 3 a.m. It sounds like one of those stupid internet dares, like Bloody Mary or the elevator game. Just another superstition people pass around for fun. I used to laugh at it. In fact, I laughed so hard that one night I decided to test it for myself. It was a Saturday, around 2:55 in the morning. I was wide awake, scrolling through my phone in bed. The house was quiet, the kind of dead silence that only exists in the middle of the night. My bathroom was right across from my room, and I remember thinking, why not? So I set an alarm for 3, got up, and stood in front of the mirror. At first it was boring. I just stared at myself. Messy hair, tired eyes, the faint glow of my phone lighting up the counter. Nothing strange, just me. Then the seconds ticked past. 3:01, 3:02. My reflection stared back at me, copying every blink, every tilt of the head. I was about to roll my eyes and walk away when I noticed something. My reflection wasn't perfectly in sync anymore. I lifted my hand, slowly, to rub my eye. In the mirror, I did the same, except there was a delay. Just a fraction of a second, but it was enough to make my stomach drop. I froze, watching closely. Maybe I was imagining it. Maybe my brain was fried from lack of sleep. But then I smiled. Just a quick nervous grin. And the reflection didn't. It kept staring, blank-faced. My smile faltered. I leaned closer to the glass, squinting. "What the hell?" I whispered. That's when it smiled. Slowly, deliberately. A second after I stopped. And it wasn't my smile. It was too wide, too sharp, like someone else was wearing my skin. I stumbled back, heart slamming against my ribs. My reflection leaned closer, pressing its face against the inside of the glass.
Its eyes didn't look like mine anymore. They were too dark, too hollow. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. I couldn't tear my gaze away. Then it spoke. The sound didn't come from my bathroom. It came from behind the glass, muffled like a voice underwater. Stay. I bolted. I slammed the bathroom door shut and dove back into bed, throwing the covers over my head like I was a kid again. My whole body shook. I told myself not to look. Not until morning. But here's the part I can't explain. When I finally worked up the courage to peek out, to glance toward the bathroom door, I saw something move in the dark. Not outside the mirror. Inside it. The reflection of the bathroom, just visible from where I lay, wasn't empty. There was someone standing in the mirror, still staring at me through the crack of the open door. I don't remember falling asleep, but when I woke up, the bathroom was empty, and the mirror showed nothing unusual. I convinced myself it was a dream, a trick of exhaustion. For weeks I tried to forget it, but every now and then, when I catch my reflection in the corner of my eye, I swear it lags, just for a second, like it's remembering. And sometimes, gad, I hate admitting this, I see it smiling when I'm not. So, go ahead. Try it. Set your alarm for 3 a.m., stand in front of the mirror, and see what happens. Just remember what I told you. There are rules for a reason. And if you decide to break them, if you feel that pull of curiosity stronger than your fear, don't blame me for what happens next. I know you're tempted to try it now. But if you do, don't blame me. Next story.
I should have gotten off when I noticed the first thing was wrong, but it was past midnight, and I was too tired to think straight. That night, I missed the last train and had no choice but to take the bus. The stop was deserted when I arrived, lit only by the dull orange glow of a flickering street lamp. When the bus finally pulled up, it looked older than the ones I was used to, its paint faded, its headlights dim. Still, I climbed aboard. The driver didn't greet me. He didn't even look at me, just nodded once and handed me a paper ticket that kind of hadn't seen in years. I mumbled a thank you and walked down the aisle. There were passengers already inside, scattered across the seats. At first glance, everything seemed normal. A man in the business suit staring straight ahead, a woman clutching a shopping bag, an elderly person near the back with their hands folded neatly in their lap. I sat near the middle, plugged in my earbuds and tried to relax, but something felt off. After a few minutes, I realized none of the passengers were moving at all. The man in the suit hadn't blinked once. The woman's grip on her bag was frozen tight, like her fingers had been glued in place. Even the old person in the back sat too still, chest rising and falling in perfect mechanical rhythm. I pulled out my earbuds. The silence was crushing. No coughs, no sighs, no shifting in seats, just the low hum of the engine and the squeal of tires on empty roads. I told myself they were just tired, that everyone was zoning out the way people do on long rides. But deep down, I knew it wasn't that. The bus rolled past my usual stop. I yanked the cord to signal the driver. Nothing happened. The bell didn't ring, the bus didn't slow. "Hey," I called out, louder this time. "This is my stop." The driver didn't respond. He didn't even flinch. His face was hidden in shadow, shoulders hunched over the wheel, eyes locked on the endless stretch of road ahead. I stood up, heart racing, and looked around. The passengers were still frozen. Their eyes, all of them, were wide open now, staring straight forward, glassy and unblinking. I stumbled back into my seat, panic clawing at my throat. My phone had no signal. My reflection in the dark window looked pale, distorted, like the glass itself was warping. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. Time didn't feel real on that bus. The city faded away, replaced by roads I didn't recognize. No lights, no houses, just endless black stretching out on either side. I leaned closer to the man in the suit, desperate for proof I wasn't alone.
"Hey," I whispered, "do you know what's going on?" He didn't answer, didn't blink. But as I stared, I realized something horrifying. His chest wasn't moving anymore. He wasn't breathing. None of them were. My stomach dropped. I stumbled down the aisle toward the driver. "Stop the bus!" I shouted. "Let me off!" For the first time, he spoke. His voice was low, gravelly, like it hadn't been used in years. "No stops on this route." I froze. "What do you mean?" He didn't answer. He just gripped the wheel tighter and pressed harder on the gas. The bus lurched, rattling as if it might fly apart, but it never slowed. I turned back to the passengers, desperate for some sign of life, and that's when I saw it. They were smiling. All of them. Wide, frozen smiles stretching ear to ear. Their glassy eyes turned toward me in unison. I bolted to the back, clawing at the emergency exit. Locked. I tried the windows. Stuck. No matter what I did, I couldn't get out. The road outside twisted into shapes that didn't make sense, curves that bent the wrong way, intersections leading nowhere. The further we went, the less real it all looked, like the bus wasn't driving through a city anymore, but through something else entirely. I sank into a seat, trembling, trying to convince myself it was a nightmare, that I'd wake up any second. But then the driver spoke again. "Almost there." I forced myself to look out the window one last time. There was no road anymore, no ground, just darkness stretching in every direction, endless and hungry. And the bus was driving straight into it. I don't remember what happened after that. Maybe I blacked out. Maybe I was swallowed whole. All I know is I woke up the next morning, slumped in my bed, clothes still on, ticket stub clutched in my hand. The paper was faded, the ink barely legible, but I could still make out the words. One way. If you ever take the bus late at night, remember this story, and check if your driver casts a shadow.
We thought it was just a dumb party game. It started at Jamie's house, one of those late summer nights when nobody wanted to sleep. There were 5 of us: Jamie, Lucas, Sarah, me, and Matt. We'd raided the kitchen, piled onto the living room floor, and started daring each other to do stupid things. Someone, maybe Lucas, suggested we play the whisper game. The rules were simple. We turned off all the lights, sat in a circle, and one person leaned over to whisper something into the ear of the next person. A word, a phrase, anything. That person then whispered it to the next, and so on, until it went all the way around. At the end, we'd turn on the light and laugh about how twisted the message had become. It seemed harmless, childish even, but at the time it felt exciting, like we were doing something forbidden. The first few rounds were funny. Someone whispered, "The pizza is cold," which somehow came back as "The priest is old." Another round started with "Ghost stories suck" and ended as "Goats eat socks." We were laughing so hard it hurt. But then Matt leaned in and said, "Let's play with the lights off completely. No phones, no candles, total darkness." The room fell silent. Even as teenagers, there was something about being in pitch black darkness that felt wrong, vulnerable. But of course, nobody wanted to be the one to chicken out. So we agreed. Jamie flicked off the last lamp. The room vanished into a suffocating black. I couldn't even see my hand in front of my face. We shuffled closer in the dark until our knees touched, forming a circle. "Okay," Matt whispered. "I'll start." I felt him lean towards Sarah, heard the faint rustle of movement, then a whisper too soft to catch. Sarah giggled nervously and passed it to Lucas. The game continued, slow, careful, the sound of breath against ears making the hair on my arms stand up. When it came to me, I leaned into Jamie's ear and whispered the phrase I'd heard. He whispered it back to Matt, and the circle was complete. "Turn on the light," someone said.
Jamie clicked the switch, the bulb flickered back to life, and we all blinked against the sudden brightness. "That was so creepy," Sarah laughed. "Okay, what did everyone hear?" But before we could share, Matt frowned. He looked around the circle, counting us one by one. "I swear," he said, "I heard it 6 times, not 5. We all froze. "There's only 5 of us," Jamie said. His voice was steady, but I saw his knuckles whiten as he gripped the carpet. "No, I'm serious," Lucas insisted. "When it came to me, I got it from Sarah. Then I passed it to you," he pointed at me. "But before I did, someone else whispered it first, from the other side." The room went silent. I laughed nervously. "You're messing with us." But Lucas shook his head. "I swear, there were 2 whispers, one after the other. Same phrase, but the second one sounded wrong." Nobody spoke. We all glanced at each other, waiting for someone to admit it was a joke, but nobody did. "Let's just play again," Matt said finally, trying to break the tension. "Maybe we got confused." We turned the light off again. The darkness swallowed us again. The circle felt tighter this time, like we were huddled together for protection rather than fun. The whisper started, moving carefully, each of us hyper-aware of every sound. When it came to me, I froze, because I swear I heard it 2 times, too. The first whisper was Sarah's voice. I recognized her tone, but then just a second later, another voice hissed the exact same phrase. Lower, rougher, too close to my ear, like it had slipped in from behind me. My body went cold. I wanted to stop the game, but my throat locked up, so I just whispered what I'd heard to Jamie and waited. When the circle ended, Jamie turned on the light again. None of us were smiling now. "6 voices," Sarah whispered. We all nodded, pale, wide-eyed. Nobody laughed. Nobody even breathed too loudly. Matt tried to lighten the mood again. "Okay, maybe it's an echo or something." But Jamie shook his head. Echoes don't change tone, and they don't happen in whispers. We sat there, staring at each other, not sure what to say, until Sarah gasped, "Where's Lucas?" We all turned. His spot in the circle was empty. His blanket was still crumpled on the floor, his soda can knocked over beside it, but he was gone. We searched the entire house, calling his name, checked the kitchen, the backyard, even the street outside. No sign of him. We called his phone. No answer. Hours passed. Then morning came. His parents filed a missing person report. The police searched for weeks. They never found him. We didn't tell them about the game. We couldn't. Who would believe us? We never played again. In fact, we never even spoke about it again. But sometimes, late at night, I swear I still feel breath against my ear, hot and wet, whispering words I can't understand. And every time, I wonder if it's Lucas or the other one. So next time someone whispers to you in the dark, make sure you know who it is. And if you thought that was disturbing, the final story is something that almost got wiped off the internet entirely.
I wasn't even looking for anything scary that night. It was late, past 2 a.m., and I was just scrolling through Reddit, half awake, bouncing between subs like r/creepy, r/no-sleep, and the endless void of r/all. You know how it is. One link leads to another, and before you realize it, you're staring at your glowing screen in the middle of the night, forgetting that the rest of the world is asleep. That's when I saw it. A post that shouldn't have been there. It didn't have a title, just a single gray deleted tag where the username should have been. Normally that happens when mods remove something, but this post wasn't blank. It still had text, and what it said made my stomach tighten. Because it described a room, not just any room. My room. It talked about the exact posters on the wall, the half-full glass of water on my nightstand, even the faint crack in the corner of my ceiling that only I would notice. At first, I thought it was some creepy coincidence, maybe a writing prompt, maybe someone else had a similar setup, but the longer I read, the harder it was to explain away. The post didn't just describe my room, it described me. It mentioned the shirt I was wearing, the way I sat hunched over my laptop, even the fact that I kept glancing toward the window, nervous for no reason. I scrolled faster, my breath catching. Then came the line that froze me. The reader is leaning closer now, heart beating faster, wondering if this is about them. My fingers hovered over the trackpad. I didn't move. Because it was true. That was exactly what I was doing. I wanted to comment, to ask what kind of joke this was, but when I tried, the comment box didn't work. It was grayed out, like the thread was locked. And yet, people had commented. Hundreds of them. Most were deleted, just strings of removed and blank spaces. But a few remained. Don't read to the end. I couldn't finish. Something was there, behind me. Mods, please take this down. That last one had a reply underneath. Just 3 words. They can't help. I slammed the laptop shut, sat in silence, breathing hard, telling myself it was just a prank thread, some ARG, some elaborate roleplay. But curiosity eats at you. You know that. I lasted maybe 10 minutes before I opened the laptop again. The post was gone, completely deleted this time. No cached version, no archive, nothing. Like it had never existed. Except the next night, it was back. Same deleted user, same text, same description of my room, but this time it was updated. It described the empty soda can I'd left on the desk, the slightly tilted angle of my chair, the fact that I was reading the post again, even though I swore I wouldn't. I didn't sleep that night. The third night, it was there again. But it didn't just describe me anymore. It described you, the reader. It said, someone else is listening now, sitting in the dark, headphones on, pretending they're safe. That's when I realized it wasn't just a post. It was a story that updated itself, following whoever dared to read or listen. And right now, that means it's following you. Because if you're hearing this, then you're part of it. This video, this narration, it's just another way the post spreads. Don't believe me? Look around your room right now. See that small detail? The one nobody else could know about? The one you thought was too insignificant for anyone to notice? It's in here. I don't have to say what it is. You already know exactly what I mean. That's how the post works. It crawls into your reality, attaches itself to the act of listening, of watching, and once you've heard it, you can't unhear it. The post keeps rewriting itself, for me, for you, for everyone who stumbles across it, and the more people who consume it, the more real it becomes. That's why people say not to finish it, why half the comments vanish, why mods can't kill it for good. Because finishing the story means acknowledging it, and acknowledging it means it sees you. And now, it does. Most people don't make it this far. They click away, skip ahead, or shut the video off. But not you. You kept listening. You wanted to know what happens at the end. So here's the truth. There is no end. The post loops, over and over. Every time you revisit it, it changes, updates, follows. It's not just about me anymore. Not just about my room. It's about yours. about this very moment, right now, as you sit there, listening to my voice and wondering if the shadows in your room have shifted. Go ahead. Check behind you. Did you feel that? The hesitation before you turned? The pressure in the air like something was leaning close, waiting for you to notice? That's what the others felt too. The ones who never finished. The ones who swore they had seen something in the corner of their vision just before shutting the post down. But you finished. You heard it through, which means you've been marked in a way they never were. Because the final line of the post, the one nobody wants to reach, always changes. For me, it said, "Close the laptop. It's standing by the door." For you, I don't know what it will say. Maybe it's already said it. Maybe it's whispering it now, not in my voice, but in another voice, too close to your ear. If you're hearing this, you've already been seen. And when you go to bed tonight, remember, you weren't alone listening to this.
And that concludes tonight's collection of nightmares. But before you click away, I want to know, which story haunted you the most? Was it the tapping on the window? The whispers in the vents? The bus that never stopped? Or maybe the post that shouldn't exist? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if you're listening to this while completely alone in the dark, I dare you to prove it. Type "I survived" in the comments so the rest of us know you're braver than we are. Our little community has grown into something strange and powerful. I read every single story you share, every "this happened to me" reply, every warning to future listeners. And maybe next time I'll feature one of your nightmares in a video. Because trust me, there are more. Stories so disturbing that Reddit mods banned them within hours. Stories that were deleted faster than anyone could archive. Stories that were never meant to be told out loud. But I'll tell them anyway. So, if you don't want to miss what's coming, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and join us the moment the next video drops. Because when it does, you'll want to be among the first to hear it. And until then, don't look behind you.